Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Leading the Way Today, powered by Leadership America. I'm Scott Murray.
And I'm Angel Carlton. Great to have you with us as we share with you the insights of prominent and influential leaders from some of the most recognized companies and organizations in America.
We're going to be taking a peek behind the curtain at all of these successful for-profit and not-for-profit entities and share their secrets and strategies for success, as well as their perspectives on leadership and life.
From culture to collaboration, creativity to innovation, transparency to diversity, we'll be addressing how these leaders in America are creating legacies and leading the way today.
And I'll tell you what, you're going to be most excited about this because you know as well as I do, this fellow right here that I'm about to introduce to you is one of the most successful, compassionate, character-driven individuals I think I have ever met. Now, I'm going to take you back in time a little bit. Over half a century ago, 55 years ago, this coming football season, he was introduced on the national stage when he won the Heisman Trophy as the top player in college football, All-American quarterback at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis. And upon graduation, he'd go on to serve in the military and the armed forces as an officer in the Vietnam War. And then he'd come back to the States, return to football, this time in the National Football League as a member of the Dallas Cowboys. And he led the team to a pair of NFL championships in Super Bowls 6 and 12. And then he'd later become a member of both the College and the Pro Football Hall of Fames. And upon retirement from football, he'd take his great leadership skills into the real estate world, something he'd done in the off-season. That's back in the days when you didn't make a lot of money, these multi-million-dollar contracts. You had to do something else in the off-season if you were a football player. And he'd become most innovative, a real business powerhouse, founding a company that bared his name. And all along the way, he remained incredibly involved with philanthropic endeavors through his family foundation, supporting nonprofits like the United Way, the Children's Cancer Fund, the Allies in Service. This is a great organization he founded to connect veterans to employment, healthcare, housing, and education. He's the father of 5, 4 girls and a boy, grandfather of 15, great-grandfather of 2, and he is, without a doubt, one of my favorite people on the planet, the one and only Roger Staubach. Hello, my friend. How you doing?
Good, Scott and Angel.
Hi, Roger. Welcome to the show. So glad you're here.
Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't say happy birthday a couple weeks late, but back the beginning of the month, right after the Super Bowl, you celebrated yet another birthday. You're, 50 now?
Yeah, those birthdays come around once a year. Yeah. I hope they keep coming around for a few more years.
Yeah, I hear you. That beats the alternative. Well, it's delightful, Roger, of you to share some time with us as we talk about great leadership and some of the things that you've been involved in a leadership capacity over the years. One of the things that we always do when we start the program is do a little something we call our lightning round. It's 5 questions that are just for fun, so it gives the listeners an opportunity to learn a little more about you. Everybody knows who Roger Staubach is. Certainly football fans do. But it's just little short answers, whatever works for you. So let's get this underway, and then we'll get into the leadership aspect of the program. First, your first job, and what did you learn from it? What comes to mind?
My first job, I learned. I worked for a blacktop company, and I was an only child. My mom and dad were great. They had to work hard. My mother had to go back to work when I was young, and so I worked in the summer. I worked for a blacktop company the first year. I remember I got $1 an hour, and then I worked for a refrigeration company, and then I worked for the next summer. And so I did manual labor for 3 summers, and that's when I made up my mind that I was going to go to college and see if I could make more than $1 an hour someday.
Incredible. And that's a good thing to learn from it. You didn't want to continue to do that your whole life. You wanted to go off to bigger and better things. Good answer.
But
Good
then
answer.
Again, football was is pretty physical too.
Well, that's true.
But
different form.
From the same side, I worked with some really, really good people that were, they had families, but I was the gopher, so they were in charge of the jobs, they worked really hard. They were very nice people, and money is important. If you don't have any, it's important, and if you have too much, it's not good. So it's good to be in the middle somewhere, and so I when I try to couch that, because I didn't like the manual labor, to be honest with you. I felt that I wanted to maybe run something someday and not go and pitch blacktop on streets.
Well, you
Totally
were
understand,
destined to be a leader. There's no question about it now as we look back on your incredible life. So on your journey to success, I'm sure you had some mentors in your life. Who would you say were the top 2 mentors, and how did they influence you?
Well, if I had to pick the top 2, the first one would be my football coach at my high school in Cincinnati, Ohio, Purcell High School. I was a defensive back and a receiver, and he switched me. He wanted me to move to quarterback, and I told him I didn't want to play quarterback, that I liked and he said, no, I want you to be a quarterback, and I'm telling you, I want you to work at it. And I said, well, why do you want me to be a quarterback, coach? And he said, well, the other guys listen to you, and I know you have a decent arm from I watch you play baseball. And that changed my life, because I worked really, really hard to try to win the quarterback job at Purcell High School, and I did, and we had a real good. I had a real good senior year, and then I was recruited to go to college on a scholarship because of that. And so being a quarterback made a big difference in my life, and I had really Coach McCarthy and Coach Kruger, the ones that really mentored me as a quarterback. And then I worked in the off season, and so I would say Mr. Henry Miller Jr. was my mentor in real estate. He was. I worked just in the off season. I'd work 5 months a year. Again, as Scott mentioned, they didn't pay quarterbacks what they do today.
Right.
and I joined the Cowboys at 27 years old with 3 kids, so that was unusual. So I also had a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from the Naval Academy, which is a BS. And so I was more of a BS in engineering. So I wanted to get some experience in sales and marketing, and so Mr. Miller allowed me to work in the off season with the Henry Miller Company, and he was a great mentor. He was about 92 years old when he passed away, and they called me to come over, and I held his hand 4 hours before he died.
Oh, gosh.
So he stayed part of my life for a long time after I left the Miller Company, and I told him I wanted to be like him and start my own company. So Mr. Miller and our coach that switched me to quarterback were great mentors in my life, but there was quite a few others, but they would be the top 2.
Certainly key players as far as a turning point goes and putting you on the path towards success.
Yeah, I thought I'd heard all your stories, Roger, and I had never heard the story about your high school coach moving you from defensive back to saying, hey, the kids listen to you, you'd be a great quarterback. That's a great story. That's a great story. All right, let's move on to the next question. What has been the most significant experience in developing your skills as a leader? I mean, let's face it, if I was to say, name 5 people in this world that you've come to know that maybe you never even met, are leaders in any way, athletically, educationally, corporately, I guarantee that over 50% of the folks are going to say Roger Staubach. You just have that reputation, Roger. So what was the most significant experience in developing your skills as that leader?
Well, I think the most important thing is, it takes a lot of unspectacular preparation to get spectacular results. And no matter what you choose to do, you got to work real hard at it. And things happen in life, and some send you in a different direction. They sent me in the direction of being a quarterback or being in the real estate business. Whatever direction you go in, or whatever gets you there, you just have to work at it to be the best at what you want to try to do, or at least be very successful at what you're trying to do. It just takes a lot of hard work, and if you really work hard, good things are going to happen. And depending on whether you're an athlete or you're in business, and I also had a favorite saying that was important to me. There's no traffic jams on the extra mile, and I really believe there's a lot of people with more talent than others, but if you give that extra, you're going to overcome shortcomings in your talent, and you're going to pass people by with more talent than you. So I always felt that if I really gave the extra and worked out harder when I was working out, or if I when I was with when I got started in the real estate business, I said I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can to see if I really like, and this is something I want to do. And so I always feel that I've given the extra in the things that I've tried to do. And there's obviously there's always disappointments. That adversity reveals genius and prosperity conceals it. That's another one that has meant a lot to me, because you find out the best in people when times are tough and you get knocked down. And every one of us get knocked down, and things look like they're the adversity. You got to deal with adversity. You can't blame anybody else. You can't cook the books. You can't give up on your faith. You just got to work at it and bounce back and fight back. And so I've always been able to do that. I was very, very competitive in a healthy way, and athletics taught me a lot. But I thank the Lord that I also got an education. So if I didn't get the education I had in high school and at the Naval Academy, it would be hard to be successful, and so I'm thankful for my education also.
Yeah, totally understandable. And you just said one of the things that I've got here in my notes that I was going to ask you about: adversity reveals genius, prosperity conceals it. I've heard you say that before. Isn't that a great statement, Angel? I love that.
Classic.
I love that. It is. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like there's no traffic jams on the extra mile.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's also another brilliant one. So knowing where you've been, Roger, and where you are now, you just gave us some great wisdom and shared with us some great wisdom on some experiences in developing leadership skills. But what would be the best advice you'd give someone in the next generation, a young professional in today's changing world?
Well, the best advice I would give would be to make sure that you get a good education, and therefore you're going to have a lot of opportunities. And one of the evils that this great country's had is our discriminatory practices, and it's not about color, it's not about race, it's not about religion, it's about opportunity and education. And given if you get a fair shot at getting that opportunity you're going to have a lot of different opportunities if you get a good education. So my best advice is to make sure you work at and do everything you possibly can to continue to get the best education that you can get.
Good advice.
Great.
Good advice. One more question, and we finish up our lightning round here. I've got about 30 seconds here left, and this is so easy. But I mean, what I want to know is, how would you define your legacy? All that you have done. You mentioned the name Roger Staubach, and people go, "Wow, he's a rock star." I mean, let's face it, Roger. Going all the way back to the '60s when you win the Heisman, up to now 2018. How would you define your legacy?
Well, my legacy has to do a lot with sports, but to define my legacy, I really feel that I do everything I can to balance my life. We all take out a life, as human beings. It's what's in it for me. But if you let what's in it for me to take over, you got some problems. And I don't think I've ever tried to take out a life without giving back. And I think you have to constantly battle the ability to make sure that you give a darn about someone other than just yourself, and that it's not all just about you. And so I try to every day because some days I have those what's in it for me days, but that's not hopefully who we are, that we do care about others. But you have to work on that. The taking out of life is kind of what your brain or whatever it is said, hey, this, I want to do this, I want that, or, but to give back, you got to work on that. So it's difficult to balance your life, but I really do the best I can to try to make sure that I not only take out life, but I give back.
Well, you do a good job of it.
Yes. Well, listening to Scott share your incredible bio and your history, it seems you have been through a lot of transitions in your life, from growing up in the Midwest to enrolling in the military, being a football player, then an entrepreneur, starting your own company, and today a philanthropist. is someone who can look back on 5 really incredible stages of your life. What leadership skills or insights influenced you at each stage?
Well, I guess the thing that I was lucky from the very beginning is my parents were, I idolized my parents. They both had to work. They both weren't, financially, you don't have to be crazy financially. But they both had to work, and they with an only child, and so I lived in a room with my grandmother till she died, and I was about 13, and she died in the bed next to me. So I kind of was in an atmosphere that I appreciated her, my grandmother, and what she did for me to help take care of me because my parents both worked, and I love my parents. I was always wanting to make them proud of me, and I was going to work real hard at everything I did. And it was important because I love sports. I played football, basketball, and baseball. I played baseball through college and 2 years of basketball and football through college. So sports were part of my life, and I, because of my parents and what they wanted and expected of me, I did work at trying to make sure I got educated and worked hard in school also to the best that I could. So a lot of it has to do with having parents that I loved, I cared about, and I wanted them to be proud of me.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's a great incentive. I wish more young people would have.
Well, yeah. So there's other incentives. There are other ways of looking at it, but that was my motivation was always when I was playing sports or whatever I did was to make my parents proud of me.
Yeah, I remember those days. I was much the same way. Yep. If mom and dad were happy, I was happy.
Oh, yeah. I always would ask, in making a decision, what would my dad think of this?
Yeah,
I mean, because that's the driving force. Yeah.
We have a lot of entrepreneurs that tune into the show, Roger. So you talk about starting the company and how Henry S. Miller was just such a iconic individual and yet a mentor of yours, because back in those days, as we said, in the 70s, nobody was making the kind of money that football players are making today. So I just wondered, in those first few years, when did you really feel comfortable enough that you knew everything was going to be okay after you started the Staubach Company and and you were out of football and you were on your own? I mean, that's got to be a scary type of thing to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, well, the when I worked at the Miller Company, and I just had a little cube and a phone, and I was trying to do everything I can to learn about the real estate business, and I finally made a sale of some apartment buildings in Tyler, Texas, which kind of kept me going. I said, finally, I did something here. I had a relationship with someone and went to Tyler, and I sold the Barclay Apartments to MJ Harvey there, and so that kind of kept me going. And the other thing also, when we won the Super Bowl in '71, and when I came off after the game, my wife and I were getting ready to come back to Dallas. We were in New Orleans when we won the game, and I got a telegram, and of course Mary Ann saying to me, "Now what are you going to do in the off season? Are you going to still work in real estate, or are you going to be a big shot and try to do something else?" And you ought to. I said, "Well, I don't know, Mary Ann." So I get this telegram. It was from Mr. Miller, and he said, "Roger, congratulations on winning the Super Bowl. And by the way, you've been promoted to vice president."
Whoa!
And so then I looked at Mary Ann. And I said, "Well, I'm vice president now. At least I got to stay with it for a while." And it's the smartest thing and the best thing I've ever done, because I liked it, and then I kept working at it, and then I also thought of a way of doing something a little bit differently, of helping corporations, buy their buildings or lease their space or do their sale leasebacks. And so we became like a tenant rep company that after I left the Miller Company that I started. And so we had a kind of a unique, at the beginning, no one else in Dallas was doing just a tenant rep business. So, but there was the commercial real estate business that I saw the future of really took off, and that helped. But I was always nervous building a business, opening up offices, but you have the right people in the right places is critical. But you got to get the right people in the right places working together, and that was the strength I had, was preaching teamwork, preaching doing the right things, winning business, but that was important, and make sure you do it right, and then the rewards follow. Sometimes you get your priorities mixed up, and you lose the sight that your customer is the only reason that you have that business, and you better perform for the customer before you benefit yourself. And so that was a mantra that I kind of preached, and people along the way that came on board taught me a lot of things that I didn't have strengths in, but I also had the chance to be a leader that made sure we had our priorities right. And so it was many years. I've been in real estate now for 47 years, and
wow.
We sold our company to JLL 10 years ago, and it's been a great marriage. They have a lot of strengths internationally, and we were able to help them in the U.S. And now we're one team, and it's JLL, Jones Lang LaSalle, and so it came about with the staying committed to what you're doing, and there's always challenges, but we focused on trying to win the business, do it right, and the rewards follow, and I think we had the right game plan.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it.
You talk about having the right people in the right places. It's my understanding that you generously gave former football players, some friends, jobs at your real estate firm. What was that like? What did they bring to the table? How did you develop them as well to be real estate professionals and groom them for success?
Well, there was some, and a lot of the players back then just you don't think that far ahead, and we didn't make all the money that you make today. It still was a great life. It just that you retired at 32 or 33 years old, or even younger than that, and so you got a long life ahead of you. So I was tried to with my teammates, and a few of them did come to work for us, but a lot of them just decided they didn't really want to work, on a job in the off season but those that did, I think it's paid off because there's just a lot of time in your life left, and so I think that was more of a problem than that for players, that they really weren't prepared for life after football, and I did try to preach a message there, and I was lucky too. I was 27, as I mentioned earlier, with 3 children. So if I was just a rookie with a single guy, I probably wouldn't have worked in the off season either. But so you don't. So they have the ability to think ahead, to think down the road. What made me do it was because I had a family. If I was a single and not, I might have not tried to get involved in real estate until I was 38 years old when I retired from football. And it's hard to start over after a long football career. But if I think it makes sense to try to determine what you want to do and work in the off season to try to develop a game plan for your days of retirement.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. And of course, as Angel mentioned earlier, it was almost like you had 5 verticals. You played in college football, then at Annapolis Naval Academy, then you go off to Vietnam, you're involved in the military, then you come back and you've got a pro football team that you're running. You win a couple of Super Bowls with the Cowboys. Now you go into real estate. So, that leadership ability was just kind of transferring itself from one to one to one to one. Here's what I want to know at this time, Roger, when you talk about all that you have gone through, just the leadership skills that we've already heard you address somewhat, but when you learned what you did from your parents, your upbringing, then you transferred that into to college football and then into the military, and the leadership skills that you learned there, and then back to football, and then on, for that matter, to the business world and onto your own family. How would you describe how you were able to change all those different types of leadership as you move forward, as a dad, as a CEO, as a pro football quarterback?
Yeah. Well, sports. Sports helped me a lot, and then moving to quarterback, I had leadership responsibilities, and I had the ability to be president of my class when I was in high school, and so there's times I didn't see how people looked up to me as far as what I did. I hoped I was leading by example. And then I had the good fortune to go to the Naval Academy, which taught me a whole lot about leadership and the military especially. And, even my tour in Vietnam, I had a very big responsibility I was more in support role, supply, logistics. We supported the Marine Corps in Da Nang and Chu Lai, and so I had a big responsibility. I wasn't out there like a lot of those guys were, within a mile of Da Nang and Chu Lai. There was a lot of shooting going on, and I was responsible for supporting the Marine Corps. The Army came in there when I was leaving in '67, but I learned a whole lot from being in the service, and I learned a lot when I had the responsibilities I had in Vietnam, and also at the Pensacola Naval Air Station. I had a lot of people working for me, and I realized that I expected a lot from them, but I also wanted to be an example that was important, that they saw that what I was trying to have them do, that I was doing myself, and so I've always felt that people look up to see if you're really preaching a message, and that you're also trying to live up to that message. And I learned that in the service, and I learned it as an athlete, and it was instrumental in business. That I had a lot of expectations from people, but I also had the responsibility to myself to make sure that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, and they would look up to me.
Well, you certainly are a role model for so many people. My goodness, you can talk to anybody and they know who you are and how they did look up to you for whatever reason. And so, I mean, you just have spent a lot of your life, it seems, helping others in your company, now philanthropically, the example you just gave in the Naval Academy. We're curious to know more about the core values behind that drive to help people personally, and then how did you apply those core values into your professional world?
Well, when you're, people look up to you, and you can't do it by yourself. I mean, and if you're not who you say you are, it's hard to get the right people in the right places working together. And if you're preaching a message of teamwork and you're not living up to it, and I work as hard as I possibly can to make sure that I care about somebody other than myself, and my expectations are very strong of being able to have people that are going to work hard because they have a responsibility to our company or to whatever I'm doing, and they also see that I'm working hard. So you can't, it's not, you don't do things by yourself, and you don't become successful in business without the great people that are working for you. And I learned that in sports, and I learned that in the military, that you're as good as those that are working with you and working for you. And if you can't get people to believe in you, then you're not going to be successful. And I think that's true in life, and I definitely know it's true in the business world. And I also knew it was true as an athlete also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As successful as you've been throughout your life, and we keep talking about that, Roger, but I mean, that's your personality. And the one thing that really, to me, separates you from so many is philanthropic, yes, but you're always so humble and gracious about it. You're not braggadocious about it. You never hear about it. You and your wife of 53 years, Marianne, are rock stars in your own right, and all you have to do is talk to your kids, and you understand what you've shared with them throughout their lives. So here's what I'd like to know. What is it, if there was one thing about this world that you could change, you had the power to stand right here and say, you know what, I've been in this world a long time, but the one thing I'd love to see our world focus on and change and get back to whatever it might be, or maybe it's something new. What might come to your mind? What would you like to see our world come to? Loaded question. How's that one for you?
Yeah, what do you want me to run for president?
Well, I think you'd make a good one to be honest with you. No,
well, I really believe, even though you might disagree with someone, that you still respect them. And today, I think we're losing respect for each other because there's a lot of disagreements. There's a lot of things we feel differently about each other, and there's more of a I hate to use a word. There's like a lot of hate going on versus saying, hey, let's try to work through this thing. Let's see if we can work this thing out. And it's usually about me and not really about who we are as friends and people, and whether it's the workplace or in on this great country we have too. I think it's just important to be able to know that you don't know it all, and you're going to try to work through it, even though you might disagree with someone. And not enough of that is happening. It's either my way or the highway, you know.
Mm-hmm. Sure
Totally.
seems that way.
Yep, totally. Couldn't agree with you more.
So that definitely concerns me.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more either. You're obviously just a successful person. You've raised a successful family. Gosh, you're not afraid of hard work. That seems to be your mantra to your journey to success here. Between the business, winning 2 Super Bowls, entering the Pro Hall of Fame, I have to ask you, and I'm sure so many people are wondering themselves, what has been your biggest thrill?
Well, I guess it's in sports. I mean, there's a thrill that I've had, winning my first Army Navy game or my first Super Bowl. I've been very fortunate to have some good moments, and sports have also taught me there's some bad moments and there's losses, and that you bounce back and you try to be better the next time. But I think my faith is, I have a real strong faith, and I do believe that there's a game plan that God has for us, and sometimes it's hard to understand. But in the New Testament, faith is there all over the place. So you just don't have all the answers, and that's true in life. You don't really have all the answers, and so your faith is kind of in the middle of everything I do, and it has a lot to do with our family. And I would look at the best success I've had was to marry the right woman. I met her in the 4th grade, and
wow.
And I didn't like girls to the 8th grade, though, to be honest with you. So we dated off and on in high school and in college, and she was a nurse. She went to nursing school, so she was dating this doctor, and so I won the Heisman Trophy, and then she got rid of that doctor real fast after that.
Yeah, I bet you she did. Smart lady.
Yes.
No, that's just kidding on that.
No, I know you are.
So we dated off and on and got married when I graduated, and I think that's the smartest thing I've done, and she has been fantastic as a wife, and she takes care of the kids, and we both had enjoyed raising our kids and grandkids, and now we're great grandparents. So it really my ability to kind of keep life under control is my faith and my wife.
Well, I've known her a long time. You're a lucky man. She's a lucky lady, but it's a great match. So good for you, Roger. I
hope that's not too corny, but that's the way.
It wasn't too corny at all. It was Roger Staubach, right? Right to the core. Good for you.
Yeah.
And so many leaders have a very similar answer in their faith.
Yeah,
and
some of the really strong leaders.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
they're really good ones.
Inspiring.
Yeah. How about a bucket list? What's on your bucket list? All the things you've done in your life. Somebody would look at you and,
I had a bucket list to go to Israel, and we went to Israel last 8 months ago and had a fantastic trip in Israel. It's a history lesson, and we got a chance to see everything in Israel. And I actually ran into someone on an elevator that gave me the best compliment I ever had. I was on there with Joe Montana, and he's getting off. This guy's getting on, and he said, "Hey, you know who that guy is?" And I said, "No, who is that?" And he said, "It's Joe Montana." And I said, "Oh, man." I said, "I didn't know that." And I had a big name tag on. Joe didn't have his name tag on.
Right.
So the guy then looked at me, and he sees my name tag, and he said, "Hey, aren't you the real estate guy?"
Are you serious? Oh, that's hilarious.
7 years, I was finally recognized as the real estate guy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I became the real estate guy in Israel. But anyway.
Well, didn't you float in the Dead Sea or something when you were over there?
Oh, we floated in the Dead Sea. We did everything over there. We went to Masada, Bethlehem. We were all over the place. It's really it's really a great history lesson, and it's you learn a lot. And but anyway, that was on my bucket list to go to Israel, and I'm really glad I did it. And,
yeah, that's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard floating in the Dead Sea is very healing. Is that what keeps you so young, Roger?
Well,
those things.
That salt doesn't let you stand up. I mean, you do float. I mean, it's amazing that Dead Sea has got. You have a hard time standing up. You're just
cool.
You're kind of knocked over with the salt, I guess. So yeah.
Wow. Was there anything else that keeps you so youthful? Besides being married to a great woman, of course.
Well, I don't know if I'll live any longer exercising, but Dr. Cooper is a great friend, and he has shown that exercise can kind of help you a little bit. And it definitely, I do exercise quite a bit. I keep track of it, and so I break a sweat. It's like a drug, it really helps. And so that's kind of a hobby I have.
Yep.
If you want to call exercise a hobby, but I stay in a pretty good routine of elliptical machines and bikes and different things to stay in shape.
I was over at the aerobic center to see Dr. Cooper for year-end physical a couple of months ago, and when your name comes up, everybody talks about, this guy, he is the guy when it comes to the treadmill and everything. You should have heard, not Dr. Cooper, but some of the other people that are there. They all know you and have the utmost respect for you and how you do keep yourself in shape. So good for you, Roger.
That's Dr. Cooper's the best.
He sure is. I agree.
He's proving that, I guess, exercise can help your lifespan. But there's other things. I do it because I just feel better that day.
Yeah, understand.
I feel better that day. I don't know if it'll keep me around longer, but Dr. Cooper's trying to prove that.
Yeah. Well, we've got about 1 minute. We're running late on time here, but I heard you say about 3-4 weeks ago that the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl next year. Were you kidding around? Or were you serious?
I was at the chamber. We're there on a panel with Charlotte was there and
right.
myself, and I was just trying to make sure I was stood up for the Cowboys. There was things going back and forth on the season this year.
I gotcha.
And I said, hey, listen, let me just tell you. And it was a great. We had a lot of people down there, and I just said, hey, I just want to make you feel better that the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl next year. And
good for you.
I didn't think it would be a headline story on the second page of the sports page. So we're going to be in the thick of it next year, and so we definitely can do it. I'm a big Dak fan, and we got Ezekiel, and I think we'll have a chance of getting in the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl.
Always has that positive attitude. Mm-hmm. Roger Staubach. Yeah. It simply doesn't get much better than that. Well, we can't thank you enough for stopping by today, Roger. Really, you know what I think of you. You're at the top of the list. You just you handle yourself with such dignity and grace and such incredible integrity, and your family right on down. You're just you're the ultimate role model. So thank you from us all for all you continue to do and being a part of this incredible community that we all call home.
Yeah, thank you for sharing so much of your wisdom and your private life with us. I certainly back your Cowboys prediction too. So thank you again for joining us, Roger.
Well, Scott, you always are in the right atmosphere, so you being around this angel has been good for you.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you much. Say hello to your family, and we'll see you down the road. Until next week, I'm Scott Murray.
And I'm Angel Carlton.
Don't forget to live your legacy by leading the way. Thanks. So long, everybody.